Brother Brennan, as we've been moving along here, kick us off for what you think is going to happen in NFC North this season.
I got
This wasn't easy, by the
and
way.
as per usual, we're going bottom of the division all the way to the top. Yeah.
Cream of the crop, yeah.
Anyways, we have the Green Bay Packers. I said it.
What?
No Aaron Rodgers. No offense. Defense, a little rocky last season.
Wow.
Yeah.
Somebody's not getting any love. That's for
No love.
That much of
no
a drop
love
off.
for love.
Yeah. Tough division, though.
Continue.
They're all kind of condensing into one. They're all kind of similar.
Someone's got to come in last.
Someone's got to cut. You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Why not Green Bay?
Why not?
Their time is come.
That's not where you want to be, but why not? Why not them?
Anyways, they're going 6-11. I said it.
Wow.
Jeez. Oh, so
Well,
you're back with the record then? Because last week I think you sat out, but you dove back deep into the thick of it.
No, I did the records. I just didn't do the. I didn't look at their schedules. That's what it was.
Got it. Okay.
I still didn't look at the schedules. I'm just
6-11.
just shooting numbers. Yeah.
Wow. Rough
Yeah.
start for
Hey.
Jordan Love's era.
They got to figure it out.
All right.
It's not a bad thing.
Just some rough
It's not,
patches.
not a bad record.
Yeah.
It's not terrible.
Could be worse.
Okay, listen,
I guess it could be worse.
Anyways, we got the Bears. Bear Don.
You loved the Bears last year.
I do.
I felt like almost every week he was bear down.
But hear me out. I think they had 5 wins last season, right?
Worst team in the NFL. Had number 1 overall pick.
Maybe it was 3.
I think it was 3 wins.
I also think it was 3.
Anyways, terrible.
Anyways, got them 7-10.
Shitty.
Improvements.
Yeah. You're right.
Bear Don. Then we got the Lions. Nothing much changed. Got some good here, some bad there. We'll get into Gardner Johnson's injury. That might affect what I just did with their record. They're not changing. Staying at 9-8.
Good.
Then we got
Leaves us one team. Who could it
who
be?
could it be?
The purple people
Whoa,
eaters.
whoa, wait, what?
The purple people
what?
eaters. That's what they used to call them back in the day, man. With better diction.
Okay. We got the Vikings with 11-6.
Wow. 11-6 is going to carry the division? Come on.
Yeah.
Hey,
Jeez.
Yeah.
tough division.
Yes.
Okay, so the Vikings winning back-to-back years, huh? That's what you got?
Yeah. I think I had them losing either 2 or 3 more than they did last season. With
They
all
were,
their
they
with
were
all their
13
changes
and
they had.
14 last year.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
looked it up
13
for
wins.
you. The Bears were 3-14 last year.
Shitty. All right.
Okay.
They get 4 more wins, right?
They could. But here's where I'm thinking.
You tell me.
Starting from the bottom to the top. The Chicago Bears, yet again. Sorry.
Bears
sorry.
are down.
Bears are down.
Now,
Literally, down at the bottom again. But I do think with the addition of DJ Moore, we've seen the past couple times when a young quarterback finally got their wide receiver one. We've seen it with Allen and Diggs. We just seen it with Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. And again, this season it will be Justin Fields and DJ Moore. They will improve. DJ Moore will help them out.
I agree.
But again, offensive line is still a little shaky. They didn't really improve that area of the team as much as they probably should have. They did draft a tackle. Sorry, Bears fans, don't remember who you drafted, but I remember an offensive tackle.
Boo.
But they did make some signings on defense. They bring in Tremaine Edmonds and T.J. Edwards, 2 of the top 15 or 20 linebackers in the league, without a doubt. T.J. Edwards had a hell of a season last year. Both got paid. We'll see what they can do with the Bears, but I still don't think that gets them over the top. they still finished last. That brings me to a team that might surprise some people, especially
No.
from the sounds of your breakdown. They're going to surprise you a little bit,
No.
in my opinion. The Green Bay Packers. Third place, yes, but they're not going to be as bad as people think. Jordan Love, I think, could be a guy. He's shown some flashes when he started. This storm is crazy.
Super crazy.
T's and P's. Everyone out there. But Jordan Love, he showed some flashes. He could get the job done when he had to step in against Kansas City. I seen some good things, obviously some bad things, but I do think being behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple years, people could dictate their relationship however they want. But I think being second string behind a guy like him only helps you. You learn a lot from him.
Yeah.
Right? So, they put weapons around him. A lot of young studs. Drafted 2 tight ends to be his safety blanket in this new Jordan Love era. Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Aaron Jones, A.J. Dillon. They got Jaden Reed, who they drafted this year, as well as those other 2 new young tight ends. So maybe the Green Bay Packers offense can improve. I mean, they have a defense or a pretty solid offensive line. They just have to stay healthy. And then on the defensive side, they're pretty solid as well. They're going to be just okay this year. I don't know if they sneak their way into the playoffs. I doubt it. Like you mentioned, tough division. We'll see, but I think they're going to win more games than people anticipate. That brings me to second place. It's a toss-up for me, but after doing some research and everything, really thinking hard about this one, Minnesota Vikings come in second place.
Wow.
I know they're just coming off a 13-win season, but if you break it down, they kind of had a horseshoe in their back pocket for a couple of those games. Things went their way in the second half. A lot of those games, especially I was there in person, and I just recently seen the Vikings and the Bills game from last season. Fucking unbelievable. Vikings probably shouldn't have won that game. Looking back at it, but they lost some guys, man. Adam Thielen they lost. Dalvin Cook they lost. A couple guys on the offensive line. A couple guys on the defensive line. They lost Campbell, their middle linebacker, who I don't know what happened there. But so key losses. Patrick Peterson they lost as well. One of the better cornerbacks in the league. Tough to climb back from. Drafted Jordan Addison, who could be a guy. Fill in for Adam Thielen. I think KJ Osborne has a good season, but nonetheless, their offensive line was kind of shaky last season. Didn't really have any improvements there this year. So, tough start to the season, too.
Oh, yeah?
Vikings, second place. Maybe miss the playoffs. Who the fuck knows? We'll see. I don't think so.
Ooh.
Kirk Cousins has something to play for on his final year of his contract. May not come back as a Viking, so this could be his prove-it year for a different team. We shall see. That leaves us
With one team.
highly anticipated team going into this season, kicking off the NFL year, the Detroit Lions, finishing in first place. And
Which would be wild if they did.
couldn't fucking tell you the last time they won the division. My guess would be 40-plus years. Long time.
Long time.
They got the foundation they need. They had the winning formula last year, went on a hell of a run to end the season. They sniffed a wild card spot last year, but didn't make it in. Came down to the last game.
So
but
this season's it, huh?
this season could be it. They have the right pieces. They have the right culture set there. This is the year the Lions step up and finally bite some fucking kneecaps off. Dan Campbell's going to have them boys buzzing. This is their year, man. A lot of hype out of Detroit.
This is their year?
C.J. Gardner-Johnson, new safety for the Lions. He got hurt today, but they're saying it's not as serious as they anticipated, so shout out C.J. Gardner-Johnson. some key additions in the draft. Jahmyr Gibbs, running back drafted first round, top, 12?
They switched out their running backs, though.
Yeah,
Two different guys.
DeAndre Swift's
Not
out
just
of
one.
there.
Yeah.
But there's some hype around Jahmyr Gibbs. Sam Laporta, new tight end. He's supposed to be a guy, too. The Lions might do it this year, man.
We'll see.
We shall see. So with that being said, we gave our thoughts, the Sports Stooges' thoughts and opinions. Now let's check in with the numbers, go through the analytics, and let's see what the stats and projections are saying. So with that being said, let's send it over to our numbers guy, the stats savant, Jacob Money Marno.
Welcome back, everybody. No intro needed. We are going to do the NFC North for this week's segment. To start off, we're going to look at FanDuel Sportbook's odds for this division. So in last place, we have Chicago at plus 400. We have Green Bay at plus 340. We have Minnesota at plus 260. And then for the favorites, we have plus 155. And what better way to start this week's episode than to get in with Detroit? So Detroit. Projected at 9.5 wins this season. After being favored before the season in 3 of 34 games the last 2 years, they are currently favored in 11 games this season. So they had a big turnaround these past few years. They are projected to finish first in the NFC North. This is the last time this happened when they finished first was in 1993, which was 30 years. So they haven't won this division in 30 years. So if they can win that, it would be pretty big for them and all those Detroit fans. But let's get started and let's look at the 2022 season. So they started the season 1-6. So they were very bad. Then they traded one of their best players, TJ Hawkinson. So after this, you would think they would probably do about the same, go 1-6 for the next 7 games or so. But they didn't. They went 6-1 somehow. So now we're going to dig down to see how they did that. What changed for them? They started to use a 2-back set. This means they started to use 2 running backs on the field at the same time. Starting in Week 10, they did this on 21% of their offensive snaps, which ranked the 8th highest in the league. Their expected points added was ranked number 3 when they had 2 running backs on the field. So when they used 2 running back sets, they were very successful. What else did they do? Turnovers. So when they lost the turnover battle, they went 0-6. So when they had more turnovers, they just did not win the game. From Week 9, though, they only lost the turnover battle twice, and they went 0-2 those games. But when they won that battle, when they won the turnover battle, they went 8-0, which is the best in the league right there. So they really focused on stop turning the ball over. And how did they do this? Jared Goff. They just stopped having him throw down the field. They lowered his target depth, and with that, less turnovers happened, and they ended up winning more games. So now for the 2023 season, what can they do? I think they can follow both of those rules. They added Demont, and they added a running back, Jahmyr Gibbs. They can have them both on the field at the same time and continue to do well with the 2 running back set. And then they can just keep the turnovers down as well. Don't have Jared Goff try to go long with the ball too much. Use St. Brown a lot. And I think they can have success that way. Another point to make is Jameson Williams. He is suspended 6 games. So outside of him, all they really have at receiver is St. Brown. So it might look rough to start the season. We'll have to wait and see. They also added Sam Laporta. He's a tight end, a rookie tight end, but I'm not too high on rookie tight ends, so we're going to have to wait and see how that turns out. But overall, I think Detroit can have a promising season this year. So now let's transition into the Vikings. The Vikings, they are projected at 8.5 wins this year after finishing 13-4 last season. But I'm not too high on them because I think last season they kind of got lucky, and we'll dig a little more deeper into that. So the Vikings lost the first 3 quarters by a combined 87 points. So the first 3 quarters, they were pretty bad last year. So where did that rank? That ranked 30th in the NFL. So if the first 3 quarters of the game ended, they would be one of the worst teams in the league. They would have went 7-10, and they would have won at a 41% rate. So how did the Vikings do this? How did they win a lot last year? They scored 16.9 points in the 4th quarter, which is insane to say the least. Where does this rank? Only 5 teams in the last 30 years have been able to score 16.9 points or more in the fourth quarter. So they were very elite last year in the fourth quarter, and that's something that doesn't really transition year after year. So that's something to be nervous about if you're a Vikings fan. They were plus 78 in points scored in the fourth quarter. They went 11-0 in one-score games too. That doesn't happen too often, so they were on the lucky side of the ball each time, to be honest. So I would not expect them to be going that well in one-score games this year. So that's another negative aspect I see with them. Now let's talk about Kirk Cousins. So if they went 13-4, you would think Kirk Cousins would have had an amazing season last year, but it was the complete opposite. It was one of his worst seasons in Minnesota if we're talking in terms of completion percentage, yards per attempt, and TD percentage. So Kirk Cousins didn't really have a great season last year. The good news, though, for Kirk is last year they faced the second hardest pass defense. This year they're going to get the 17th. So, I mean, Kirk Cousins could do well, much better this year. Another thing last year that wasn't too well for them was the run game. Their running was not good, and they lost Dalvin Cook. They do have Madison this year, and he will be the starter, but Cook was much better than Madison at yards per contact, before contact. So that's something to keep a note of. Their yards before contact in 22 was 1.17, which was the 29th best in the NFL. So their running backs didn't really get many yards before first contact, so that's another note to pay attention to. And last season they faced the 5th easiest run defenses, so they should have done much better, but they didn't. Another negative aspect with the Vikings is their defense. So I'm not expecting a lot out of their defense this year, so I can see a lot of shootouts. So if you're into fantasy and you like Minnesota, their offensive players, Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, can have very big seasons. But to get more into the defense, they ranked against the pass last year number 26. So it was not too good. Now that defense will face the second hardest schedule of offenses. So they're going to face a lot of good offenses this year. So they're going to be tested, and I'm feeling that there will be a lot of high-scoring games for this Minnesota team. And also their schedule, they play 5 games this year where their opponent has over a week to prepare. So I'm not too high on Minnesota this year. I do think they could definitely get to the 8.5 wins. I'm not expecting another 13-win season, so that would really shock me if they were able to get 13 wins. So now let's transition into Bears. So the Bears, I don't know what they're really doing, and they make me sad. And I'll explain why. So they're projected at 7.5 wins. And in 2022, so last season, the Bears had $93 million in dead cap, the most in the NFL that year, most in NFL history, to be honest. So they had a lot of dead cap meaning they have to pay for players that aren't on their current roster. So it was just eating away at their team. So that's why they finished with 3 wins last year. They didn't have much talent on the team, and they couldn't pay for talent because of the dead cap. So now we're entering year 3 with Justin Fields. The most prized possession in football is a potential franchise quarterback on a rookie deal. So if they think Justin Fields can be their guy, this is the season they really need to do something because he's on the rookie contract and they can spend elsewhere. So let's see where Chicago is spending their money. They're not. They ranked this offseason, they ranked 26 in terms of spending on their roster. And you're going to wonder why. Do they have a lot of dead cap this year? No, they only have $23 million in dead cap, which is about average. So it's not like they're spending on players that aren't on their team anymore. And right now they are sitting in $33 million in cap space this year. So they still have $33 million to spend, and I don't know what they're waiting for or what they're doing. So I'm just not sure what this organization is trying to plan right now. This is their time to win now. I mean, they have Justin Fields on the rookie contract. They need to spend at receivers, get the O-line for him, and get really good players around him because this is their time to win. But they're not doing that for some odd reason. I'm not sure why. They have the 7th cheapest offense and the 10th cheapest defense. I mean, their O-line allowed the highest sack percentage in the past 2 seasons, which would be 13.33%. So 13% of the time they were allowing sacks to Justin Fields. So their O-line was pretty bad. So they could have spent much more this offseason on it, but decided not to. Not sure why again. But let's look at last year to see where they had success. So from 4 games last year, they scored 33 points against the Pats, 29 points against Dallas, 32 points against the Dolphins, and 30 points against the Lions. So even though they had 3 wins, they lost 3 out of those 4 games. Their offense did really well. So we're going to look into why that happened. Third downs was a big thing. Their percentage of third downs to get a first down went from 36% from weeks 1 through 6 to 55% for weeks 7 through 10. So they were very effective on third downs. How did they do this? Well, they just stopped giving up sacks. Justin Fields stopped taking sacks. From weeks 1 to 6, he took 8 third down sacks, which is about 15% of the time. So that's more than their 13% average. And from weeks 7 to 10, he took only 1 sack out of 60 attempts, which is less than 2%. It's 1.7%. So if they want to win again, they have to stop sacked, and they need Justin Fields to just take off and avoid sacks. So the problem with this, though, it's hard to replicate this third down performance year over year, and I don't really expect that to happen in 2023 with the roster they have. So I'm not expecting too much out of Chicago. I mean, let's talk about the positives, though. They added DJ Moore. So with this rookie QB, they got their wide receiver 1. A lot happens when a rookie QB gets a good receiver. Look at Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. You can look at Tua and Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. They both had big years. So I'm expecting Justin Fields to have a much better year than last year, and I think they're going to win more than 3 wins. I hope they do. And to add to the positives, they have the 6th easiest schedule this year. But the thing that concerns me is that just not spending money on a year that they have money. It just confuses me, so I'm not very high on Chicago at all. And with that, we're going to transition into the last team. We have the Packers. So the Packers are at 7.5 wins. They no longer have Aaron Rodgers. They're going to be starting with Jordan Love and a bunch of young receivers. So let's see what they can do this year. So looking at last year, the Packers went from 13 wins in 2021 to last year where they had 8 wins. So that was 5 wins differential right there. So they really struggled last year. Why did this happen? Well, they got rid of Davante Adams. He was a big piece for them on first and third downs, and that's the reason why they struggled. On first downs, they decided to run the ball more, even though the passes were much better than the run. They decided to run more. And when they did pass on first downs, they were a bottom 10 team in most categories, so they weren't the same Packers as usual. And on third down, in 2021, Adams was targeted 32% of Rodgers' throws on third downs. With him gone, Rodgers didn't really have anyone to count on, so they struggled greatly on third downs. Rodgers also threw for 12 interceptions, and he also wanted out of Green Bay, so Green Bay was a mess last year, so we're seeing if they can turn it around this year or not. Let's look at 2023 outlook right now. So Green Bay was the 26th most pass-heavy team on first downs. So what they can do this year is, I think, to let Jordan Love throw the ball more on first downs. They should definitely not run more on first downs. Another concern I have for them this is last year they spent $280 million in cash for their roster, which is the second most. So they spent a lot on players. This year, they are only spending $194 million on their roster, which would rank them the second least in the NFL, so 31st most in the NFL. So they're not spending on their players this year. They would go from the 9th most expensive offense to the 32nd most expensive offense. So they have a lot of rookie receivers, a lot of young receivers. They don't really have too many veterans on there. They're not paying much money for their offense, so that can be a big concern for Jordan Love. The most expensive, so this statistic made me laugh. So the most expensive free agent signing for the Packers is long snapper Matthew Orzak from the Rams. They spent a 3-year deal for $3.7 million. That's their most expensive free agent signing this year. So that, I don't think, is just great for them. They didn't really have a good free agent offseason this year, and I think that might come back to hurt them. So that's all I have for these 4 teams for the NFC North. So now I'm going to rank them of what I think they will projected standings. So in last, I have the Bears. I don't think they know what they're doing. They're not spending anything. They're not trying to help Justin Fields. They should have got more receivers. They should have upped their O-line. I'm just not sure what they're doing, and this is their time that they need to spend money. They have money, but they're not spending. So with that, I don't have much faith in their organization. So in third, I will have Green Bay. Again, they're just not. They didn't spend a lot this year. They're relying on Jordan Love, who is making his first career starting quarterback right there with a young receiving core. I'm just not sure what's going to happen with them. They can have a wide range of outcomes, but I think it's more they'll end up finishing third or fourth in this division. And second, I will have Minnesota. I just don't think they can repeat what they did last year. I mean, they can definitely finish first and take Detroit for the first in this division, but I don't think they can do what they did last year and get as lucky. And I think their defense is really going to struggle, and I think Kirk Cousins needs to play perfect. I mean, they do have Justin Jefferson, and they added Jordan Addison, so he will fit right into that system. So their offense can be really good, along with T.J. Hawkinson, but they're going to have to be scoring 30 points a game, I think, to be winning on a regular clip. And then first, we'll have Detroit. This is everybody seems to love Detroit. Very good team, well coached. I think if they do things right, they can definitely win in this division. Just keep the turnovers low, utilize all the backs they have, and their defense got better as well. So we'll see what Detroit can give. But this is this segment for the NFC North. As always, stay on the grind, and money never sleeps.